Hey guys, if you're new to fishing Narragansett Bay, Rhode Island for bass in the spring, you are not going to want to miss this one. All right, guys, so we are talking about catching bass in Narragansett Bay in the spring. So I feel like the first thing that happens in the spring is the pogie influx,
Yep.
right?
That's usually because we don't get out on the water with the boats in until like early May, right? Maybe
Right.
late April.
Yep.
So that's what's happening at that time.
Yep.
For us.
So, and all of this stuff works obviously in the spring, but I feel like the first thing that we go to is snagging pogie with a weighted treble.
Yep.
And it's probably not a secret, they're all over the bay, but primarily upper bay, Providence River area, not to give away any spots, but that's where it is. Snagging pogie, obviously I have a cast net that I would love to be able to use, but I feel like I've kind of limited myself to the marinas unsuccessfully. I would love to do it on a boat, but I feel like by the time you get to them on a boat, they've kind of dispersed. And I know guys that are that definitely do it. Like there's guys out there that sell the pogies and catch the pogies. I know some of the charter guys are good at doing it. We have not mastered that yet.
No,
but I would definitely like to.
You're good in the pool, though. You can throw it in the pool.
We can throw it in the pool. I practice in the pool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we snag the pogies. We find bait balls either visually or side scan. We throw the weighted treble through the school and kind of snag them up and put them in the live well. And then from there, we are circle hooking them, which is the law. And I personally am a owner circle hooks are my favorites.
Yeah, we've been through a bunch.
Yeah,
right?
and I think any of them probably work.
Yeah.
Like you use Gamakatsu, I think, or do you use?
I switched to the owners.
Yeah, the owners are these are an 8.0 tournament Mutu light circle. We'll put them in the link in the description below. But this is typically what we start with, and
this one I feel like we like this one because it has a little bit more of a J-hook profile.
Yeah.
Right? It's not. It feels like you can get the bait on, and there's still enough hook.
Yes.
For the fish to
I feel like it reacts like a J-hook and not so much as a circle hook, even though it is a circle hook. Yeah, I feel like the hookups are better on these than like on the very extreme circle Gamakatsus.
Yep.
Agreed on that. And then as far as I've done a bunch of different things with the pogies. We've tried bridling.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I think we just kind of go through the mouth and through the nostril or a side nostril. Seems to work the best. And then we either troll them or we just put them down either weighted or unweighted and basically just wait for the fish.
So one of the things that we found last year doing this that worked pretty well was really letting this is probably isn't a secret to those that do a lot of this type of fishing, but we would be really quick to kind of tighten down the drag, close the bail, and wait for that weight with the circle, right? Because you're not setting the hook. And we missed a lot of fish that way.
We did
in the early days of doing this type of fishing.
Yep.
And one of the things that we changed this past spring, was really letting them take it like an uncomfortably long time.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like in that particular instance we were fishing shallow flats. So I think the fish needed to take it and kind of run a little bit with it. And like we had a lot of miss hookups for sure by not letting them kind of run a little bit and then tighten up the drag. But yeah, it may be different in deeper water or something like that. But
we're talking like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, right?
Yeah, it wasn't definitely an uncomfortable run.
Yeah.
So that's what we start with. A lot of this stuff is used simultaneously, but what do you want to talk about next?
So when the pogies are in, one of the things that we like to do too is if we don't have that biomass of pogies and in the usual spots, is drop the bunker spoon.
Yep.
This is another tactic I like, and we got on this a couple years ago when it kind of got popular, using around here in the Northeast. But these have been really effective in deeper water, in channels and on the drift. These have been a lot of fun to use, and I feel like we've had success with these in early spring, into mid-June or so, and then when the pogies kind of move out, this sort of dries up for us a little bit. But this has been another fun way to catch fish.
Yeah, I mean, they imitate a pogie perfectly, and we have definitely caught a lot of fish on this. And the tsunami actually, and I don't think color really even matters, but the weight does.
Yeah.
And this tsunami makes a heavier spoon than some of the other stuff that's out there. I know this one I think is a Ben Parker, but the tsunami makes a heavy model, which I think the biggest challenge we have on these is that they scope out.
Yeah.
Especially like in the bay where you get, a running tide, an incoming or an outgoing. They can be very hard to kind of keep on the bottom where the fish are. So I feel like the heavier spoon, the better.
Yeah, and this is like 7 ounces or 8 ounces or so, right?
I don't know that it's quite that heavy. I think it's like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a little bit better than the lighter spoons, just to keep it down into the strike zone.
You know what I found with these too is, when I first started using these, I was given a big rip of the rod up.
Yeah.
Letting it fall, give it a big rip. And I found, we were actually fishing next to our friend Scott, and we were 50 feet apart from one another doing the same drift. And he was hooking up like crazy, and I wasn't. I was studying them, what they were doing, and he was just giving a little tiny lifts on the rod, and that was the ticket. So, you got to kind of change it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's important to talk about how to work them, obviously, because you see a lot of guys out there doing different things, and sometimes maybe the fish want it presented one way one day and a different, on another day. And so sometimes the big swings work, and sometimes keeping it on the bottom and just jigging it off the bottom works too. So I think we've done it both ways and been successful, but sometimes less is more.
Yeah, and where we fish with these, typically, we're in deeper water, like 60, 70, 80, sometimes 90 feet of water.
Yep.
And the other thing that's interesting that I've noticed when we hook up with the spoons or when we're fishing with the spoons is that we're not really marking a lot of fish, right? So, like, there have been plenty of times where we've caught fish and just either seeing nothing on the screen or little marks
just
here and there.
Travelers coming through.
Right. But they're there,
Oh, yeah,
so
100%.
it's I feel like for, which is different than fishing, snagging pogies, and you're looking for that big mass, and bass are probably going to be under that with the blues later in the earlier in the season, and but with the spoon, you just kind of you've got, if you've got the water and you've got the structure, the depth of the water, you got the movement, you got the structure, you just kind of, like, I found that we just have to trust that the fish are there. If they're there, they're there. If they're not, they're not.
Yep.
But that was one thing that kind of surprised me about using those.
And I think in the same spots that we use these spoons, I mean, you have to include a bucktail.
Yeah, for sure.
This is this catches, probably caught more fish in its history than any other lure there is. But in the same spots that we were using the bunker spoons, I was using a bucktail with a cowtail strip, and this was catching fish as well. So if they are there, and this actually I think holds bottom really well over the spoons, but if they're there biting, they'll definitely take this as well. So you got to use you got to have a bucktail in your arsenal for sure.
Yeah, and you can generally go a little lighter on the weight with that.
Correct.
And it also depends on the profile. Here, like this is the smiling.
Yeah, catches a little bit of water. So it's not quite as hydrodynamic as I say, but
you can really slim down to 2-3 ounces on these and move in water if you have the right style.
Yep. Yeah, and these tails are just I don't even know what they are, a synthetic material, but they're pretty durable actually. Once you put them on, they're tough to get off. So they do work really well.
Yeah, they don't make them out of the animal skin anymore, huh?
No, not that I've seen. And I feel like if you're going to talk about jigs, we have to talk about the Deadly Dick.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
classic.
this is caught again, probably more fish and more species than anything, but this is obviously one, and they make them in many different weights. We tend to we'll swap out the treble and just put a single hook on. This works great for the bass. You're a big fan of these.
I love these. Yeah, these.
Nothing not to like.
This is really using the Deadly Dick is really where I kind of honed my my striper catching with using artificial lures. Like I was a big, growing up and when I was a younger lad, I used to fish the canal a lot.
Yep.
And I used to, soak bait. And I had a friend in school his parents had a house in Orleans, in Cape Cod, and I would go there with him and his family over the summer, and we'd fish there was like big flats right off the coast there, and we would just cast from the shore Deadly Dicks and the Hopkins smoothies, and man, that just turned me on to using these, and they just caught all day long, all through the day, all through the night. And I like the green color and the red color. Those are my favorites. But you can, all of them are effective. The hollow ones, the hologram ones, or the white ones, the glow ones, the blue ones, like they all work. But I'm partial to the green.
Yeah, and that's important to know too. That we fish by boat, so we're not typically fishing from shore. But a lot of this stuff can be fished from shore.
Yep.
Very easily, or obviously from a kayak as well. I think the spoons might be a bit tough unless you're fishing out of a channel, but any of the bucktails for sure, the Deadly Dick, all that stuff can be fished from shore.
And these are great because you can fish these, multiple different ways. I like the jig, so I'll let these sink to the bottom. And just jig it on the bottom, bounce it around. But maybe give it a few cranks, let it drop. But you can cast these and swim them. You can let them sink and rip them up and let them drop back down. I mean, you can fish them any way you want.
Yeah, and I think the bigger profile too obviously helps imitate a larger fish. So when the spring bass are here, they're definitely on. On something.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, these kind of imitate almost anything that's swimming. And especially in the in Narragansett Bay, there are times when the fish are on really small bait, like the rain bait, or you see them all busting out there, on the surface, and we'll throw everything at them. And it's hard to hook up, but more times than not, I've hooked up with the smaller profile Deadly Dick in those situations.
I have seen, and I do a lot of spearfishing in Narragansett Bay, and I have seen big schools of butterfish. At least I think they're butterfish. They could be something else, but I picked this lure up. I got this for Christmas this year, and it looks exactly like a butterfish. This is what does that say, Rob? I don't have my glasses on.
Angler Co.
And what's the weight?
150 grams.
So this will definitely get to the bottom. I think it imitates a butterfish, obviously, very well. And would definitely catch bass. I have not used it, full disclosure. I plan to use it. I think it'll work. And they actually make it in a larger gram size as well. So I think you could definitely use this for tuna. But I'll try and post the link below on this, but I thought it was a pretty cool bait.
Yeah, it's a good profile. Definitely looks like a butterfish to me.
Yep. So
that's interesting that, I know you've spent a lot of times diving, free diving, spearfishing, for fish, for striper and tog and everything else in the bay. Is there anything that you've observed while underwater that is kind of translated to the way you fish from the boat?
I would say yes, only in terms of like structure. So, for not to get off topic, but, when we talk about tog fishing and stuff like that, diving and seeing the structure that they live in is super helpful, because most of that diving is done very shallow, believe it or not. So, we can catch tog in 8 to 10 feet of water, just like we were spearfishing for them. Where a lot of guys in boats, and you hear people talk about, oh, you have to be in 60 feet of water or 40 feet of water. A lot of these fish are in very shallow water. And same goes for spring bass, because we typically can dive in the spring for tautog. So I'm seeing bass in those same spots. One of the largest bass that I shot was in less than 10 feet of water, back when you could shoot larger fish. So yeah, I mean, deeper water doesn't always mean better water, and seeing structure underneath that hold the fish, I think, is helpful. So yeah.
Yeah, and one of the other things too is that especially in upper Narragansett Bay, in the springtime when you have the snow melt and you have rain, all that runoff, that can really dirty the water up too, right?
Yeah, upper Narragansett Bay is dirty, but even down in parts of Bristol, Portsmouth, Newport, those types of places, only in the very early spring, and then again in the late fall does the water really kind of clear up. And I feel like for the most part it's turned up by boat traffic and algae blooms and stuff like that. So the water in Narragansett Bay, for the most part, when you're fishing all season long, is dirty water.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I know we have the right next to the Deadly Dicks. We have the diamond jig.
Yeah.
And this is another favorite of mine.
We've caught a ton of bass on those.
Man, I've caught, these are just, those who know, these catch everything, right? Not just the bass, but the way that the same way you can fish, you fish the Deadly Dick, you can fish these. You can swim them. They've got this bent hook here and with the surgical tube, it just, the way it moves through the water.
From shore.
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Jigging in shallow water, jigging in deep water. These things just imitate whatever's out there. And they get to the bottom. They're durable, and they catch fish.
Very.
Yeah, This is one of my favorites. I'm kind of old school with the jigs.
You do.
I like a simple.
You turned me on to them.
Yeah, these things are great. They catch everything.
I feel like our success with those, over the past few summers, has been jigging channels with them. Deep channels, because they get down there quickly.
Yep.
They imitate the sand eels and other small bait fish that we typically see. So those things work great.
Yep. And again, I'm partial to the green color. But I think I have every color.
Yeah, they make them in red, yellow, black, white.
Yellow. Yellow's another good one. The red ones are good.
Yep.
Yeah,
I feel like any of them will work.
These are my favorites. I like those.
Yep. I guess we could go to some epoxies, right? So these are, we caught on these, at least I did. I caught, lots of bluefish in the spring. Yep. I think I was FaceTiming you.
You were
on the boat while you were working one day.
Yeah.
I was catching so many bluefish, cast after cast after cast.
And that was a situation that particular day. That was early spring. You were right outside of where our marina is.
Yeah.
In relatively shallow water. Fish were everywhere, right? Acres of fish, and you were throwing everything at them, right? Until you switched to this profile, and that was a ticket.
Yeah, the epoxy's nice, and I like the durability of them, especially with bluefish, but also we jig these a lot, so we're bouncing them off of rocks on the bottom and stuff. So versus a metal lure that might have a sticker or is painted, I feel like they are durable. I feel like they represent a small bait fish perfectly. We use them with either a hook or a treble. Obviously the single hook is easier for release, but sometimes we talk about the treble versus the single hook, and I feel like we're like most people out there where we're working Monday through Friday. We have a Saturday to get out there and catch fish, and so we kind of want to land every fish that we catch.
So we'll have the best chance to land them, right?
Exactly. You want to give yourself the best chance, and I know that obviously the trebles aren't the best for I guess release and recovery, but I think everybody does their best. But at the same time, you kind of want to go out there and land what you catch, and the treble does the best job for that. But these are actually Joe Bags resins.
And those are the long cast resins, right?
These are the long cast resins. He has a bunch of different sizes, weights, colors. They're awesome lures. We use them a lot. He has selections for tuna as well in the resins, which we've caught a ton of tuna on. So if you haven't heard of Joe Bags Outdoors, you got to check out his stuff. He's got a great line of lures.
Yeah, and you know me, I mean, probably 80% of my bag is Joe Bag stuff. Yours too, probably at this point.
At this point it is.
You know,
I mean, we can jump into some of his stuff actually if you want to do that. Want to talk about your favorite?
Oh yeah. All right. So the I just call this the Joe Bag sand eel, but it's actually called the Miracle Minnow. I think this is maybe the 2 ounce or the 1.5 ounce. I think this is the 1 ounce.
This is the 2 ounce. That's the 1 ounce. Yeah.
I like this profile, the 1 ounce profile, but in this color. That's typically what I go to. And man, these things are
you are an expert at
deadly,
fishing these.
Deadly. I love this lure. I've caught practically every species of fish you can catch.
100%.
It's a bait with this thing.
100%.
I remember one day we were.
You caught a tog on it.
I did. We were striper. We were targeting stripers at where were we, off of Saconnet? Elbow Ledge.
Yeah.
Elbow Ledge.
Yep.
And we were just doing a drift over the ledge into the deeper water, and we were just having some success, and the drift just went a little longer than we would typically allow, and we ended up in some pretty shallow water, and I remember like I was picking up fluke with this, like the bite change. It was picking up fluke. I was picking up scup. I was picking up tog in the middle of the summer on this thing.
Yeah,
crazy.
It was amazing.
Yeah, and
it's a great lure.
I sent a message to Joe Bags and was like, "Hey man, this thing is catching everything. This is like my favorite lure," and they're durable too. Like I've had. I mean, I'm still using some of the first packs that I bought. Like they're still holding up. Like they lost the eyes, and maybe they're breaking a little bit here, but they're awesome.
Yeah, highly durable, definitely effective.
I want to catch a tuna on one of these.
I don't doubt that you could.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an awesome lure.
Yep.
He makes also the this is the Swarter, which is kind of reminiscent of like an SP minnow type shape, I guess. And all of these work as well. These swimmers, we took the treble hook off. We added a single on the back and then kept the treble in the middle. But these have been very popular. I know for Joe, he sells a ton of these, and we use these obviously during the spring. I feel like these are great actually in the back bays.
Yep.
In the coves and stuff like that in the shallows. So we use these. Obviously an SP minnow. Same type of profile, different action than the Swarter, but set up the same way. So you definitely want to have some of these in your tackle box as well.
Yeah, and we like the bone color and the white color.
I do like the bone color. This color that Joe Bags has on the Swarter is also good, and they come in a number of different colors as well. But this is a nice lure. All right, so on the Joe Bags tour, we have the Skipper.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Skipper. Well, let's talk about
what came before the Skipper.
Yeah, at least I think everyone knows what this guy is.
The Doc.
The Doc, right? And this is the legendary like musky lure that somewhere along the way people realized was a killer striped bass and bluefish topwater lure.
Secret that wasn't a secret.
That's right. So we loaded up on these things, and these things these crush it. These kill it.
Yeah, I think that's a 9-inch.
This is the 9-inch.
They make them in a 6-inch as well.
Yeah.
And I've owned them in both sizes. They both work equally well.
Yep.
They cast really nice. It's a walk the dog type motion.
And the secret is like the rattle, right?
Yeah, there's a rattle.
Supposedly it's like, produces like a low vibration rattle that is travels really well, and these things can call up fish from 20, 30 feet down,
And they definitely do that. So if you're fishing Narragansett Bay this spring, you most definitely need a Doc in your bag, and you need a Joe Bag Skipper in your bag.
So I remember the day, right? So we this is the Joe Bag Skipper here. And I remember one day we were out fishing out front of Newport on the reef, and I had a dock on, and I think it was the first time you used the skipper.
Yep.
I mean, one of the first times you had the skipper on, and you outfished me like crazy. You were just catching. I mean, it wasn't even a contest. It was ridiculous, and I ended up switching over.
Yep.
We had a great morning that morning. It was like a window of maybe an hour or two.
It was definitely sun up. Sun was coming up. It was first light. We hit the reef out in front, and these things absolutely crushed it.
Yeah, I mean, outfished the dock. Like
I caught actually my personal best bass.
That's right.
On the skipper. It was, and it might have been this one actually. I don't know if it was that one. It could have been that one. I can't remember which one it was, but I don't think the fish really care, to be honest.
Yeah.
But these are a walk the dog action too. They cast really well. I love these lures. Thanks, Joe, for making these.
Yeah.
But they work great. I also know that these are actually fished by Captain Joe Diorio.
Yeah.
Uses these as well. And I think they caught a tuna.
They did.
On one of these this year, actually.
Yeah. They were just messing around,
trolling it, and caught a tuna.
So
these things will catch. So again, if you're fishing Narragansett Bay springtime for bass, you got to have one of these Joe Bag skippers in your box.
You know, one of the things I like about this compared to the dock too is that you can submerge these a little bit. Like this will like sink a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can fish this just under the water.
Yeah.
You can fish it right on the top.
Yeah.
And you know, it's so you can kind of play around with it a little bit. Mm-hmm. And it's just been a super productive lure for us.
Yep. These come with 2 trebles on them as well.
Yep.
Some people will obviously swap these out for single hooks, which you can definitely do. I mean, again, to go back to, saying that we like to land the fish that we catch. I mean, we're out there 1 day a week or 2 days a week on the weekend.
I mean, you mentioned it before, right? We're just like probably, 95% of the folks out there that, we work during the week, and we have families, kids.
Of course.
And friends who we like to take out on our boats. If it's a nice weekend, it's usually a bit of a negotiation with the family to get a couple hours out there.
One day of fishing and 1 day of family, right?
That's right. Yep. So when we talk about this a lot, like you said, that when we go out, we want to make sure we don't fish enough to I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I mean, we're not a charter captain.
We're not a charter captain. We're not out there a ton.
We're not out there releasing, 50 fish a day off the hooks. And so I get it if they want to use a single hook on there, that's cool. But yeah, we want to maximize our chances just like most of you guys do too. So, and also too, talking about the treble hooks, I think when you put a single hook on these, I think it changes the way that they work. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but I feel like I saw some videos online where they swap out the trebles, and it does change like the drag of the water.
Yeah,
like a single hook versus a treble, it changes the way that they can move sometimes. But one more Joe Bags lure. We got the Joe Bags Patriot fish, I believe he calls it, which is like a perfect imitation of like a squid color, which infiltrate the bay. Starting April, as soon as the water hits like 50 degrees, pretty much, they'll start coming in. So the Joe Bags Patriot fish is like a paddle tail with a weighted head. These are obviously great to just cast at the bottom, reel in at different speeds, but just like any sort of paddle fish that we use. And then I love these are Z-Man.
Yeah.
And I kind of have switched over to Z-Man from is it Berkeley Gulp stuff, only because like the stretch on these things are insane.
Yeah, the durability.
So the durability is crazy. I feel like and they hold up to bluefish, which I think is important. And I use a little bit of super glue just to the head, which is kind of helps them hang on. But these are like, I mean, if you're going to do a paddle tail for durability, I mean, these things are insane. And then they make them in a smaller size, which these I feel are killer in the beginning of the season. Like right when they first come in, they're smaller bass. Like anything small, like this 3 to 4 inches, again, is the way to go. So Z-Man, these are diesel minnows. So diesel minnows is what we got.
Yeah, and you kind of got turned on to the. I know we're not talking about fluke today, but you got turned on to the Z-Man from our fluke fishing, right?
Well, yeah.
Where we were using the gulp.
The gulp was just like, I mean, there's no question the gulp works, but I feel like, I switched over to the Z-Man product, and the Z-Man product works too. It comes, pre-marinated, so to say, in its bag of, whatever it is, just like the gulp. But I can literally, the only way I lose a Z-Man, like black sea bass fishing or fluke fishing, is if I get it caught up in a rock.
Yeah.
And I lose the whole rig, because it's not because a fluke or a black sea bass bit the tail. And you end up with that little nub. So, besides that, it's half the price, and the gulp is twice the price. And again, like, we're not charter guys. We're out there, once a week. It's costing me $30 in gulp every time I go fishing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense. So I did switch over to Z-Man, and I do like their product.
Yep. So, and one of the interesting things too about the Z-Man is some of the ones that are, pre-marinated, as you said. I'm not sure if it's the same with these ones, but you can't mix them in your tackle bag with other types of rubber.
That's a
right?
good point.
Right?
That is a good point. You cannot mix these with any other type of soft plastic. So whatever these are made of, they do not react well. You cannot put them in a tackle box because it will melt with the tackle box plastic. Like, you need to keep them in this bag all together in their own little environment, because they will like melt, which is kind of weird. So it's not from the heat or anything like that. So
it's some kind of reaction.
It's some sort of chemical reaction. So that does happen. That's a great point, Rob.
Yeah.
So, this is what we fish with in the spring. There's guys out there that do their own thing. So we're not saying that this is the only way. This is just what we do. But for the most part, I think this is like a very staple setup that most anyone who is just going to start out fishing Narragansett Bay could use. You couldn't go wrong with any of this. You could probably certainly tweak and add and subtract things based off what location you fish. And I feel like this is also good for, like, obviously Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine, based off of, what bait is there and so forth.
Yeah, because you and I too, we didn't grow up fishing Narragansett Bay, right?
No.
We're both from Massachusetts, and we grew up fishing
freshwater.
Yeah. Right, and then the beaches and oceans around. You were mainly fishing in like Hull, right, and Quincy.
Yeah. I mean, I was pulling lobster pots with my grandfather and fishing Hull, Nantasket Beach, and the Boston Harbor. So it was a much different fishery there than what we have in Rhode Island, for sure.
So when you and I started fishing together in Narragansett Bay, probably about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago now, right? I mean, we kind of had to figure it out. Like, I took, at least for me, I took what I knew from fishing, mostly shore fishing in Massachusetts and Cape Cod mostly, and just put it to work in Narragansett Bay and try to figure out what was working, what wasn't.
Yep.
You were doing the same, right?
Yeah.
You had a couple of years on me in the bay, fishing the bay before I got my boat. And I think just between, again, we're not professional fishermen, we're not experts here. This is just through trial and error, the things that we've found that have worked for us.
Yep, 100%. So hopefully this helped you guys out. Again, we'll probably come out with another episode, I think, in the summer. Maybe do a black sea bass and fluke. Definitely a tog episode. And look forward to seeing you then.